Coming in at number 5, we've got the cellar from the cabin in the woods. The hidden room to end all hidden rooms, this one holds a lot of dangerous secrets that have no business in the light of day. In fact, the initial secret room hidden beneath the floorboards of the cabin is only the beginning. It leads to more rooms, cells, and monsters. Fascinating, right? The Cabin in the Woods is a masterwork in trope usage, filling the screen with beasts, killers, and ghosts, paying homage to horror's rich cinematic history. The protagonists are all slotted into archetypal roles, only to break the mold in interesting ways, and the way they act is influenced by the space they inhabit. So the discovery of a hidden room shouldn't come as too much of a surprise, considering the circumstances. After a wild night of being involuntarily drugged without their knowledge, the pals discover a passage into the cellar, and in classic horror movie fashion, descend into the depths to see what's up. Beneath the cabin is a veritable treasure trove of cursed objects, although the unfortunate victims would have no way to know that they carried dark energy. Well, no way plot-wise anyway. Most would be able to tell these items were a no-go just by looking at them. An age-weathered wedding dress, veil and all. A puzzle sphere worthy of an alternate universe Cenobite. An ancient amulet likely to call upon a beast with a terrible curse. A conch shell, guaranteed to bring about the oft-referenced merman. And of course, the Bruckner girl's diary, filled with incantations that will wake the dead. If I discovered such a room beneath the place I rented, I'd make sure to vacate ASAP. I'm leaving a bad review on Airbnb too. What's worse, your host spying on you and charging extra for cleanup fees, or them leaving you at the mercy of any number of paranormal entities hidden in their musty cellar? It's hard to give a definitive answer to that question. The general array of dangerous items and the implication that there are many more we didn't get to see makes this hidden room one of the scariest out there. You gotta wonder how many people didn't even make it out after selecting their object.
In our 4th spot today we have Lizzie Borden. Lizzie Borden is a well-known individual in American criminal history. If you don't know who she is, well hey, here's a quick little nursery rhyme that'll teach you all about her. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. That's a sick nursery rhyme based on the real murder Lizzie Borden committed. But it turns out she only struck her mom 19 times and her dad 10 times. I mean, it's still bad, but anyways, back in 1892, her parents were found dead. After investigating the scene, Lizzie was the only person who seemed guilty, although her case is pretty controversial. Some say she did it, others say she didn't. Anyways, the Borden murder house is now a bed and breakfast museum, in case you want to stay in a real place where gruesome murders happened. And turns out that Lizzie, as well as others, haunt the grounds. Late at night, apparently she could be heard laughing at the top of the stairs. Others have seen doors open and close on their own. Or they'll just be chilling out, minding their own business, when all of a sudden they get a whiff of Lizzie's perfume. On top of that, others have heard the traumatized maid screaming for help. And others have seen her parents walking the grounds. In our 3rd spot, we have the Banff Springs Hotel. There's one room in this hotel that was so scary and plagued with paranormal activity that they no longer let anyone in that room, and it has since been boarded up. So Banff Springs Hotel is considered a luxury mountain resort located in Canada. Seems kind of odd that it's terribly haunted, but it is. So according to a number of legends, the hotel is haunted by its tragic past. Decades ago, a family was killed in room 873. In 1928, a married couple and their daughter checked into the hotel, but they never checked out. During one night, the father ended up taking the lives of his wife and daughter before taking his own life. No one knows why he did such a horrific deed. Soon after, the room was refurbished and booked out to visitors. But weird things started happening in that room. Guests would wake up in the middle of the night to sounds of screaming. When they would flip on the lights, they would see bloody handprints on the mirror inside their room. Obviously, they would freak the hell out and then run to the front desk. But when the staff went to the room to investigate, the prints would be gone. It was happening so frequently that they decided to board up the room. In fact, if you go to the hotel today, there are rooms ending in 73 on each floor except the 8th floor. In the spot that the room should be, you can tell that a room was once there but has since been boarded up. There are lights placed above each doorway, and there is one above where this missing door would have been. Not only that, but the baseboard is cut where the door would have been. And if you knock along the walls, it sounds like it's made of thick plaster. But if you knock on the spot where room 873 should be, it sounds hollow. So it's believed that there is definitely a room 873 at the Banff Springs Hotel, and they boarded it up because it's literally haunted by the family that died in there. It's really freaky. I'm good with keeping that room sealed up forever, okay? In our 2nd spot, we have the Axe Murder House, aka another place that you'll never catch me at, and another place place plagued with paranormal activity and dark history. So on June 10th, 1912, husband and wife Josiah and Sarah Moore and their 3 sons and daughter were found bludgeoned to death inside of their home. The killer was never caught. After investigating the bodies and crime scene, it was concluded that the dark deed was done at around 12:45 midnight. They found 2 cigarettes in the attic, suggesting that the killer or killers were waiting in the attic until the family went to bed. They started in the master bedroom with the parents, struck them with an axe, and then moved on. Then they returned back to the master bedroom at the end to hit the 2 with more blows. And now it's said that this house and the rooms in it are extremely haunted. People that have gone on tours of the house have claimed to hear children's voices and screams. Others have seen objects move and fly on their own. But in 2014, something very scary and unexplainable happened. It happened to paranormal investigator Robert Stephen Larson Jr. He was touring the house. While staying at the house, he stabbed himself in the chest. The freakiest part? He got stabbed at 12:45 a.m. the same time the murders of the Moore family occurred. So yeah, maybe don't go exploring the rooms there unless you want something like that to happen to you. And in our number 1 spot today, we have room B340. Room B340 is a part of the Queen Mary, which is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in America. There are a number of ghosts that haunt this hotel, from Jackie, the little girl who haunts the first-class pool, to a man named John Petter who was crushed by a watertight door, to Second Senior Officer William Eric Stark who accidentally drank cleaning fluid instead of gin, and one of the cooks who was baked alive by his own staff during World War II. So yeah, a lot of dark things have happened on this ship turned hotel. Now there is one room on this ship that you never, and I mean never, want to go to, and that is room B340. It's the site of a huge tragedy. So back in the 60s, the ship was used for transatlantic cruises. Well, while on this cruise, a man went crazy and took the lives of 2 women in this room. When his crimes were discovered, he was locked in the room until they could dock the ship and deal with him. The door was locked from the outside and a guard was positioned outside the room so the killer couldn't escape. At one point, the guard heard the man pounding on the door, saying that someone was in the room with him and was trying to kill him. Obviously the guard was like, I ain't no idiot, and never opened the door. He thought that this was the guy trying to get the guard to open the door so that he could escape. Here's where it gets weird, okay? Shortly after, the guard heard nothing coming from the room, so he thought, okay, the man finally settled down and went to bed. The next day, the ship arrived in New York and the NYPD boarded the ship to arrest the man. But when he opened the door, they found the man's body parts scattered across the room. His limbs had been ripped off and they were all over the place. There was no way he could have done this to himself. So what happened to him in there? Was there actually someone in that room with him? If so, how did they get in? And who is this person? It's just all so eerie, and that's why you should never board the ship, let alone go to this room. But if you want to, its ship welcomes paranormal investigators or anyone brave enough to spend the night there. A number of guests have reported eerie things happening to them in the middle of the night. In 1966, a woman was staying in the room and woke up to the covers on the bed being pulled off of her. When she opened her eyes, she saw a man standing at the end of her bed. She screamed and ran out of her room, but when she did, the man vanished into thin air. Other guests have complained about the lights in the room flickering on and off, or have heard sounds of someone knocking on the door in the middle of the night. Even the hotel maids have complained about the room, saying sometimes they have entered the room to find the water in the bathroom running, when no one was in the room for days. So with all that being said, would you dare to spend the night there?
Coming in our number 5 spot, attic. This story comes to us from Norway, where someone posted some pretty creepy pictures online. So this guy was in his attic one day and he actually discovered a hidden room. Yeah, imagine that. You're just cleaning and you stumble across this little door that leads to who knows where. This is reminding me of Alice in Wonderland. So he did what any normal person would do. He went and checked out what the heck was on the other side of that door. Upon inspection, it was believed that this room had been hidden and undisturbed since World War II. That's both really cool and pretty freaky. Inside the room, there was a sign. It said, "If you have a bad stomach, then you don't have access." What do you guys think that means? Like, if you're lactose intolerant, then you can't go in? I don't know. There were also some pretty cool things found in the room, such as a lamp alarm, which back in the day was used to warn anybody nearby when someone was entering. There was also a map of Western Europe and a doll's shoe. No doll, just the shoe.
Coming in at number 4, we've got the Dream Door from Channel Zero. If you haven't already, do yourself a favor and watch the entirety of this tragically cancelled television program. Channel Zero is the best thing to happen to horror TV in a long time and was cut short unfortunately early. Rest in peace, sweet baby angel. Thankfully, the showrunner, Nick Antosca, has gone on to make a feature flick that will be releasing soon after many pandemic delays, so keep an eye out for Antlers. Getting back to the matter at hand though, let's talk about the Dream Door. Sounds pleasant enough, conjuring images of floating and sleeping. However, the Dream Door unleashes a force into the world that nobody should ever have to deal with. Every season of Channel Zero is based upon a creepypasta story, whether it's the first season's Candle Cove or the use of the No End House in season 2. This means that the Dream Door is also based upon an online tale. Titled I Found a Hidden Door in My Cellar and I Think I've Made a Big Mistake, it chronicles the discovery of a hidden door behind some old wallpaper in someone's cellar. Curiosity, as always, kills the cat, and the man decides to pop the door open, revealing a long staircase down below the house that doesn't make any architectural sense. There's also a man, dapper, in a black suit and brimmed hat, waiting down there, facing another door. He moves unnaturally, as if he's learning to walk in real time, and then he runs full speed backwards towards the poor man investigating his cellar. Freaked out, he slams the door and alerts the authorities. The dark-suited man was never seen again, but there was another room to explore, one plastered with ancient blood and indecipherable symbols. A classic creepypasta. This, of course, was adapted to make for an entire season of television. The idea of a secret door being discovered and a released eldritch being stayed the same, but they were both brought out and given additional consequences. The cellar presence in question became a constantly smiling ventriloquist with a penchant for bloodshed, one dreamed up by one of the protagonists when she was just a little girl. The opening of the secret door unleashed this killer into the world, obsessed with keeping his creators safe, but dredging up horrible secrets in the meantime. This confirms that anyone finding a hidden door somewhere unexpected should just... At number 3, we've got Between the Walls and Housebound. Would you rather live in a haunted house or a house with an unknown squatter in it? On most days of the week, I'd opt for the ghost. Phantoms are one thing, they can only do so much, but a full-grown man living the hermit lifestyle inside of my walls, unbathed, unsocialized, stealing my food and relieving himself? Unacceptable. That's exactly what happened in Housebound, and it laid bare some of my basest fears. For a little while, it appears that the building our protagonist is confined to house arrest inside of is haunted by, a ghost. Odd noises in empty rooms, objects being moved around, unexplained presences spooking folks, the works. The home's history as a halfway house known for gruesome murder adds to this theory. However, it ends up being a long-forgotten squatter that's causing all the ruckus. A man who was once a boy at the halfway house was abused and decided to hide away before he was either killed or brought back to his abuser. He crawled into the walls and survived by sneaking about and stealing supplies. All these years later, he does the same thing. In this little hidey hole, there are a variety of items meant for entertainment and of course the required place to put, well, waste. For a squatter, it's paradise. For a homeowner, it is a horrifying reminder that someone has been living right under your nose for who knows how long. Coming in number 2, we've got The Basement from The People Under the Stairs. The scariest stories are often the ones based in reality, which makes this one extra disturbing. A Wes Craven classic, of course there are going to be some gory and upsetting moments throughout the movie, but the premise itself is absolutely gut-wrenching. Apparently this movie was based upon a real news story Craven had seen, where 2 burglars broke into a house looking for valuables and came across a secret compartment imprisoning 2 children. Embodying the gentleman thieves of lore, they decided to suck it up and go to the authorities who freed the children. Imagine that, breaking into someone's house and then finding a crime much more heinous than your own, and then turning yourself in to report that crime. Legendary. Protection of property should also come after the protection of people anyways, right? But I digress. In the movie, a similar scenario plays out, albeit much more dramatically. The burglars in this case are all killed outright, save for the youngest of the bunch. He discovers a secret basement full of deformed cannibalistic children, all held captive by the incestuous duo of mommy and daddy. Yikes. That is a sight and smell that no sane person would come away from unchanged. And finally, at number 1, we've got The Basement Passage from Martyrs. You know I had to save the most brutal for last. Everything about this secret room is horrific, from the method of discovery to the experiments lying within. Seeking revenge against the family that was responsible for their imprisonment and abuse as children, Anna and Lucy find out where the Belfonds live. Lucy takes matters into her own hands and kills the entire family, afterwards making the realization that she would always be attacked by the demon she dreamed up. Seeing nothing but a dead end, Lucy ends her own life, leaving Anna behind. Anna doesn't know what to do, but soon discovers a secret passage containing a tortured and brutalized woman, confirming her suspicions that the Belfonds had something to do with their troubled past. It doesn't end there though, as it's revealed that this basement torture chamber was developed by a group who attempts to learn more about the afterlife through transcendental insight caused by suffering. I'm sure you can see where this is going. This hidden room below a seemingly average family's home is a place where women are tortured within inches of their life to see if anything can be discovered about the unknowables in the universe. Brutal indeed. Double check those blueprints, folks. Who knows what kind of unconscionable secrets could be hidden below your baseboards?
Starting off this countdown, we have Hotel Room 333. The Langham Hotel is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in London, and Room 333 is why it has this reputation. So the hotel was first built in 1865. There are over 500 rooms and suites, and also a number of ghosts as well. There are at least 5 ghosts that make their presence known on the regular, but several other ghosts haunt the hotel as well. The most active ghost is said to be that of a German prince. It's believed that he threw himself out of a window on the upper story room and he passed away. Well, guests have seen this ghost on a number of occasions. He is known to move through walls and close doors. If you feel a sudden drop in temperature, it's said that that's a sign he is near. Then you also have the ghost of a man with a gaping wound on his face. They don't know what happened to him, but they know that he's terrifying looking. And you have the ghost of a butler that has been seen wandering the corridors in ripped socks, and a ghost of a man in a pale blue suit with a powdered wig on. But let's get to the most haunted room, Room 333. People who have stayed in this room have encountered a number of terrifying ghosts. The first sighting was made by a BBC newscaster. He was staying in the room when he woke up to see a fluorescent ball of light floating above him. This ball slowly transformed into a human apparition. The apparition then hovered in his room. He was dressed in Victorian evening wear, but one of his legs was missing. He came towards the newscaster with his arms open and eyes wide before disappearing into thin air. Maybe the poor dude just wanted a hug, you know? He's coming out like, I don't know. Another ghost that haunts this room is the ghost of a doctor who took the life of his wife on their honeymoon. This guy often appears wearing a cloak and often has blank, staring eyes. And lastly, we have Emperor Napoleon III. Apparently he lived at the Langham Hotel during his last days in exile, and has also made an appearance in Room 333.
And at number 4, behind the bookshelf. Yeah, just like a lot of horror movies, this one has a secret room hidden behind a bookshelf. Back in 2005, a couple found a secret corridor hidden behind a bookcase in a room that they were renovating for their son. This corridor led them to an empty room with a note left from the previous owner. On the note, the words "you found it" were written. Upon reading the note, the previous homeowners explained that this house had a very serious black mold problem. It was so bad, in fact, that it actually made their children very sick. The new family immediately canceled their reno plans and sued their broker who sold them their house. Yeah, this is my nightmare come true. You spend pretty much your whole life savings on a house, plus you have to get a mortgage taken out just to find out the people who owned it before you are evil, and you can't even live there because it's hazardous to your health. Like, yeah, I get wanting to get the house off your hands, but to sell it to another family with children so these kids can get sick too? Yeah, that's just messed up. Black mold is a silent killer after all. So yeah, this is really dangerous. At number 3, university housing. For this one, we're heading over to Ohio State University, where a group of students were renting out a house for the new school year. You know, as students do. Everything was going fine until after living there for a few weeks, they began to hear creepy noises at night. And then soon after that, they would wake up to all of their cupboards being open. At first, they started to get angry at one another, assuming each other was being messy, but they all swore it wasn't them. So then they came to the one and only logical conclusion that their place must be haunted. But then one day the boys stumbled across this random door in their basement that they hadn't noticed before, so they opened it and discovered a very small room. It was probably supposed to be used for storage or something like that. However, upon opening the door, they saw a double bed mattress on the floor, textbooks, and some photographs. So clearly someone was squatting there rent-free. So the roommates quickly locked the door and left a note for the squatter warning them not to come back. The squatter was then revealed to be a boy named Jeremy. Jeremy came clean to the roommates and said that he gained access to the house from his cousin who used to live there. The roommates weren't mad after meeting Jeremy, but they did tell him that he had to go. Coming in at number 2, Room of Doom. This story brings us back 4 years ago to 2014. when a man found a hidden crawl space while looking around in his attic. So of course he had to investigate. Turns out this crawl space led to a locked door. Behind the door was a room that had the walls, floor, and ceiling completely covered with soundproof boards. And there were also some plastic tarps on the floor and up along the wall as well. There were also 4 power outlets and a small platform off to the side of the room. There's no doubt that this is extremely rare and beyond creepy. Yeah, definitely sounds like a psycho killer's secret lair to me. I mean, why else do you need the door locked and the tarp and the soundproofing? Yeah, secret torture room for sure. Also found in the room, as if all of this wasn't enough, was a safe containing some VHS tapes. The man who now lived in the house tried to play them, but he wasn't able to, so he handed them over to the police. To be honest, I don't know if I would even want to see what was on those. And in at number 1, brother discovery. So this story goes as followed. 2 brothers were play fighting in their parents' room when one of them fell backwards onto a built-in bookshelf. He actually fell back on it so hard that the bookshelf actually shifted and then opened, revealing a hidden room with a spiral staircase. Of course, if you make a discovery like this, then you're going to have to check it out. So these 2 curious brothers made their way down the staircase, which ended up leading them to a creepy crawl space. Down in the crawl space, the brothers found Halloween candy and a fresh banana peel. The boys quickly put 2 and 2 together and realized that someone was living in their walls. They realized that the Halloween candy was actually theirs, that they had been keeping in their rooms, meaning this random person went into the kids' room and took it. The boys took a picture and got the heck out of there. Then they told their parents, who called investigators. After using forensic science, they realized that the squatter had only been living there temporarily. There were also no other entrances aside from this bookshelf, which means this person probably snuck in and out as the parents were sleeping, or maybe when they weren't even home. Regardless, having an intruder in your house is a scary thing. The creepiest part of all of this is the person still has not been found. And since this discovery, the parents have boarded up the room. So yeah, I don't think this person will be coming back anytime soon. Yeah, that's pretty messed up.